All right, I'm going to give you guys a race recap. So we were able to get the circle track car out for the blowout weekend, the last weekend of the year. Made some small adjustments that I believe we already talked about. Basically, I changed those rear springs around, and then I changed the right front shock. So we got out there Saturday, and let me think here. So our first hot lap sessions, we were like a 14:58, which is just over a tenth and a half faster than our personal best. So that's awesome. The changes seemed to work, but the car was still loose in the back. Kind of wanted to step out on us a little bit. So I knew I needed to make more adjustments. The other thing is we did get 3 new tires. So we finally were able to get tires. So thank you, Hoosier Tire, for kind of hooking us up and letting us get some tires. So we got 3 tires, but we couldn't get all 4. So we had 3 new tires, and the left rear tire is probably like 2 years old. So kind of was what it was. We just cleaned it up and ran it, set our stagger. But anyway, so we won a 14:58. Again, 2 of the limited late model rules, exactly how we're going to run the car next year. That 14:58 is actually a pretty darn competitive number, but the car was still loose. I went ahead and lowered the rear panhard bar an 1/8 inch to help tighten up the car in the back. I set the sway bar before we left the house. I never touched it. I made slight adjustments to the stagger, but like literally 2 psi adjustments, so nothing major there. We went to second practice and we went, I believe, a 14:52, so it helped a little bit. And then we had about an hour and a half before our heat race, which was going to be a 12-lap race. So I kind of thought it over and looked over the car. And actually, one other point is one of our linkage rods broke in the second heat. So we were able to get that off, took it to a guy that lives close by, and we were able to get it welded and back on the car before our feature. So luckily that was pretty simple. But that was one of those things that popped up, so it kind of threw me off a little bit. But basically, like I said, the car was still a little bit loose, so I had to think it over. I wanted to make more adjustment because it's just a heat race. It really doesn't matter. And again, this race is really just a glorified test session for us. We're just trying to get more information on the car for next year. So I went ahead and raised the panhard bar a quarter inch more. Lowered the panhard bar a quarter inch more. So we lowered it the first time a quarter inch, then we lowered it the second time a quarter inch to help tighten up the car. So after thinking that over, I went ahead and changed the right front shock as well to a 5.5, which is a little bit more traditional valving. Still not quite right. I'd rather have like a 5.7, something like that on the right front, kind of try a bit of a tie down setup on the right front just for the heck of it. Just kind of want to see what that does. But anyways, we went in our heat race. We were starting, so there was 3 heats. So we were in the second heat. We were on the pole. So inside we had a car to our outside that sets pretty well, similar to our car, runs similar times. So I knew I was going to have to get a really good jump on the start to hold him off. So that's where it got a little bit interesting. So basically, you go green coming out of 4. You're supposed to go at the white stripe, but everyone jumps it. Watch the flag handler, flag guy, I forget what they call him. Anyways, so I knew I had to jump the start and get a good start to keep him behind me. So I nailed it perfectly. I went exactly where I wanted to go. Got just a little bit of a jump. I did not get the jump I was looking for. But I kind of couldn't really tell what was going on because it's so loud with so many cars around you. And I've got earbuds in for I can listen to the tower. And the long story short is we smoked the rear tires the entire front stretch. So the tires were cold. It's now at night, and we're coming off of a restart at a pretty slow speed. And I've never had this car or any of these cars spin the tires like that before. So I go into one, I lift, I go to brake, and the car just loops around on me because it was smoking the tires down the front stretch. And as soon as I got on the brakes, it just kicked out. So complete restart at that point. The other cars dodged us. We kind of slid through the grass a little bit. Luckily, no damage. You can kind of see it on this tire. Got a little scuffed up, but no big deal there. That happened. So then the second restart, which is, again, it's a complete restart, so it's like the race hasn't started yet. I'm now a little nervous. I'm like, man, I can't be looking like an idiot here, making any mistakes. So try to shake the car back and forth good, make sure the tires got some heat in them. But at that point, I'm kind of good with letting the guy to my outside in front of me follow his line and just kind of hold it down from there, because I don't want to cost anyone anything of me making a mistake. So that's what we did. We gave him the jump on us, followed in behind him, ran about 5 laps like that. And then one of the cars that started on the tail had worked his way up pretty quick. He got around us to the outside. Again, I kind of let him go. I just don't want to be beating and banging, but was able to keep them within a decent distance. And actually, there was 2 laps there where I felt like I was starting to close that gap. So I'm like, all right, basically first and second are battling it out, and we're closing that gap. So I'm starting to feel good. Let these guys make a mistake. We might have an opportunity. Well, kind of sure enough, first and second tangle. Second place guy spins out. And I believe he tapped out, which means he takes responsibility. So he went to the tail then. So now we're back in second, but single file restart now. And I seen the flag carrier give the one to go. I give the guy behind me the one to go. But the leader in front of me keeps whipping his car back and forth, back and forth. And normally you do that on the laps coming up to the one to go. At the one to go mark, I've never seen anyone do that. And if you do, you only do it on the front stretch, not on the back stretch leading into 3 and 4. Well, literally in 3 and 4, he's still whipping the car back and forth with his right hand out the window. So I'm completely flustered. I'm like, does he not know it's one to go? Am I confused? I read the call wrong. It's not one to go. And I heard static over my radio at one point during this lap. So I'm thinking, oh, they must have had an issue in the back of the field. We're going to have one more lap. Well, at that moment, the guy arches to the right and just floors it with his hand still out the window. So it gets like a 5-car jump on us. So again, we got outplayed there. That was a strategy. That was a veteran move, but I won't fall for that move again. So good on him. It was a good trick, but that kind of screwed me up. So that cost me second place for third place, because the third place guy kind of knew what was going on and just jumped to the outside and went around us. We were able to battle with him a little bit, but the long story short is we ended up getting third place. That move just screwed us up. But the good news there is in that heat race, 12-lap race, we ended up going a 14:41. So improved by another 10th. So our adjustments definitely worked. Cars continuing to get better. So that pretty much wrapped up our night. So then the feature was going to go into Sunday. Well, the long story short there is I wanted to try to do a spring change on the car because I really want to get into the 1420s to run basically more competitive. Ended up being up really, really, really late, and the race was starting early. Long story short, I couldn't get everything done in time to make the feature, so we didn't make the feature. With cutting through the grass and stuff, I still haven't checked over the car, and I just ran out of time. I thought I had more springs. Wasn't able to come up with a combination to work, so at like 4 in the morning, I decided we weren't going to make it on Sunday. So that wraps up our season. I pretty much hit the goals I wanted to hit. We got the car down to a 14:41. I got 2 more tenths that I want to take off this thing to feel like we're really in the ballpark. But that 14:41 would have put us number 1 qualifier at the last race for this class. Because that's the other thing. The class that we were running in this weekend is not the class for this car. It's just an open comp V8 class. So we're running against outlaw late models with a limited late model, and that's like apples and oranges. So they don't compare at all. We were definitely outgunned for the class, but we were able to get good data. I feel good about it. So just want to kind of give you guys that race recap. That'll be it. Don't forget to like and subscribe.